A harsh, mocking laugh rang out in the gleaming TV aisle of PowerMax Electronics. That sound spread throughout the space, bouncing off the glass walls, producing sharp, cold echoes that made everyone turn and look. An off-duty police officer, Rick Coleman, stood amid the rows of TVs, laughing straight in the face of a black boy. In one hand he held an open soda can, with the other he rested on his hip, posture proud and commanding. The boy, Jordan Miles, was only 12 years old. He wore a gray t-shirt and held a used set of headphones he was about to purchase. His face was still youthful, yet his eyes had hardened as though trying to swallow down a deep humiliation. "Pilot, huh?" Coleman said in a sneering tone. "A black woman in the Air Force? Are you telling fairy tales?" Silence fell for a second, then a few snickers bubbled up. A group of nearby customers exchanged glances. Some smiled, some whispered among themselves. Neon signs flickered, reflecting Jordan's face, flushed and strained. Ethan, his white friend, stammered, "He is not lying. Jordan's mother is a medical rescue pilot. She works at Fort Kingsley Base." Coleman raised an eyebrow, his look mixing scorn and disbelief. "Fort Kingsley, huh? Yeah, she's probably just flying some toy drones like these." He pointed toward the row of displayed drones, his grin twisted, venomous. A few people laughed. A sales clerk glanced over, frowned, but did not intervene. In this world, power in plain clothes still intimidated others. Jordan lowered his head, his small arm trembled. He did not understand why a truthful statement about his mother would become a joke. Ethan gently touched his friend's shoulder, whispering, "Ignore him, Jordan." But the boy did not move. In those eyes, hidden behind lenses reflecting the neon lights, was a blend of shame, anger, and something deeper, a pride that had never been extinguished. No one in PowerMax knew that, within minutes, the woman they had just mocked would walk through that door and bring with her the wind of truth. Jordan Miles lived with his mother in South Havenbrook, where red brick roofs peeked through rows of old maple trees, their leaves falling in every season, covering sidewalks in gold. Their small apartment had only 2 bedrooms, one wall plastered with photos of airplanes and a few military commendations faded with time. On a wooden shelf stood a silver model helicopter. Jordan called it Mother's Bird, because every time Naomi, his mother, returned from a mission, she would say, "You know, the sky is my home, but you are the reason I come back to Earth." Jordan's father had died in a warehouse fire 5 years earlier. He had been only 7 at that time. After the funeral day, Naomi never cried in front of him again. She just worked, trained, flew, and became a medical rescue pilot in the U.S. Air Force. Her mission was to fly into disaster zones and evacuate the injured. Storms, wildfires, floods, she was there for them all. Her teammates called her Captain Miles, the woman who dares fly where others want to retreat. Jordan was proud of his mother, but he learned early on others did not believe him. "Your mom, Air Force?" The kids at school would laugh, and adults would offer a dismissive, half-pitying, half-skeptical smile. So he often remained silent. Only when alone would Jordan stare at the photo of his mother in uniform, standing before a helicopter with spinning blades, smiling in the harsh sunlight. Then he would tell himself, "One day, I will be as strong as she is." On that day, Jordan just wanted to go buy headphones with Ethan. He blurted out that his mother was flying a mission at Fort Kingsley. And fate caused a man like Rick Coleman, one who believed men are born to bear burden. Women are knocked over here. From that moment, everything ordinary shattered. A proud iron-hearted police officer and a 12-year-old black boy with a heart full of faith had accidentally collided in the dazzling lights of PowerMax. The air in the TV section grew heavy, as if all the light had narrowed down to focus on the black boy standing before the man in plain clothes. Behind him, the screens were showing ads about realistic surround sound, but the only sound Jordan could hear was the thumping of his own heart. He tried to keep his breathing steady. Ethan held his breath, his hand gripping the strap of his backpack. Jordan stared directly at Coleman. His voice trembled slightly, but each word came out clear. "My mom is a pilot. She saves people. She does her job whether anyone believes her or not." A moment of silence passed. The whispers faded. The whole store seemed to pause, waiting to see how a child might break beneath the weight of adult authority. Coleman squinted, his grin curving into mockery. He pointed to a poster on the wall, one showing this silver helicopter flying against a vivid blue sky. "Oh, like that one? If your mom really flies something like that, I will buy you the biggest TV in this place." A raspy laugh burst out from the checkout counter. Others chuckled along. A middle-aged man shook his head and muttered, "Kids these days, wild imaginations." Jordan said nothing. He looked into Coleman's eyes reflecting the supermarket's pale white lights. Then he spoke again, voice soft but firm. "I don't need a TV. I just need you to stop laughing at people." No one laughed this time. The words fell like a stone into still water. A young sales associate nearby let out a quiet sigh but still did not step in. Coleman blinked, his face losing its confidence for a split second, then forced himself back into his tough exterior. He shrugged and said with a scoff, "There's no room for fairy tales in the real world. Kid, grow up, and you'll understand." Jordan did not respond. He swallowed, eyes stinging, not from fear, but from anger. Anger at how his truth was crushed, just because others could not stretch their imagination far enough to believe it. Ethan whispered, "Come on, Jordan." But Jordan stood still. For the first time in his life, he realized sometimes staying silent makes you part of the lie. He gripped the headphone box tightly. His small arm trembled, but his heart was steady. Amid all the glowing screens, that boy, powerless, weaponless, made the strongest choice a child could make. He told the truth. And he did not back down. In that moment, PowerMax was no longer just an electronics store. It became a small stage, where a child was learning how to stand tall beneath the eyes of the world. "You'll see," Jordan said softly, voice cracking but still audible. "My mom is on her way." Coleman laughed out loud, shaking his head. "Oh, right, what? She's gonna land a helicopter on the roof of PowerMax." He said it loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. And they heard. The murmurs resumed. A young woman who had just picked out a laptop paused and pointed her phone toward them. A father holding his child on his shoulders whispered, "Poor kid, he's probably just pretending." Ethan gripped his friend's shoulder and tugged gently. "Jordan, please, let's just go." But Jordan did not move. His eyes were wet, but his gaze was fierce. "My mom saved people during a Category 4 hurricane," he said. "You don't know anything about her." Coleman raised an eyebrow and sneered. "Oh, thanks for the bedtime story in the middle of a store. Maybe I should thank her for flying on pure imagination." Laughter rang out again. But this time, it was uneven. A few people fell silent, suddenly uncomfortable. Right then, a very different sound echoed through the air. Low, deep, thunderous. The sound of helicopter blades. At first, it was just a faint rush of wind outside the door. Then it grew stronger, reverberating through the glass ceiling of the shopping center. Posters rippled, TV screens flickered with light reflecting from the spinning blades above. "What is that?" someone murmured. A security guard ran toward the entrance, looking up at the sky. The sound grew louder. Heads turned, light from above caught the changing expressions, curiosity shifting into awe. Ethan looked at Jordan, his voice shaking. "Jordan, do not tell me." Jordan did not answer. He only whispered, eyes locked on the door. "Mom." The front doors of PowerMax flew open with a gust of wind. A sale sign toppled over, papers scattered everywhere, and through the dazzling light, a woman stepped inside. She wore an olive-green military uniform, collar dusted with grit, boots soaked in sea sand. On her shoulder gleamed the insignia of the United States Air Force. On her chest, a patch that read, Air Rescue Division. She walked straight down the aisle, hair tied back, sun-darkened face set with a gaze sharp as steel. No one said a word. Jordan softly called out, "Mom?" Naomi Miles scanned the room and spotted her son. She rushed over, her eyes filled with both concern and warmth. "Jordan, what happened, sweetheart?" The air stood still. Coleman froze. The woman he had mocked now stood right in front of him, wearing a real uniform, with a real voice, and a presence that left no room for doubt. All eyes turned to her. A middle-aged woman whispered, "Oh my God, she's real." A child in the crowd asked, "Mom, is that a real pilot?" No one answered, because sometimes truth needs no confirmation. It walks into the room and silences the world. Naomi walked straight to her son. She placed a firm hand on Jordan's shoulder, her eyes scanning the area before settling on the still stunned face of Rick Coleman. The wind from outside still blew in, carrying the scent of jet fuel and the salty air clinging to her uniform. All Coleman could do in that moment was stand still. Naomi's voice rang out, low and steady. "You laughed in my son's face because he told the truth." Coleman swallowed hard, trying to collect himself. "I was just joking, ma'am. I didn't mean anything by it." Naomi kept her gaze fixed on him, no raised voice, no visible anger, just the look of someone who had faced storms, death, and fear and had no patience left for excuses. "A person wearing a badge," she said slowly, "should never turn a child's truth into a punchline. You can call it a joke, but to my son, it was a wound." The crowd remained silent. An older man whispered, "She's right." A young woman gently held her daughter's hand and gave a quiet nod. Naomi stepped forward. "Are you surprised because I am a woman, or because I am a black woman?" Coleman inhaled deeply, then lowered his head in shame. There was nothing left to say. Naomi continued, "I just landed from the coast. We rescued 3 people after the flood. When the rotors stopped spinning, I thought the mission was done. Turns out, the real battle was waiting here, where I had to prove I'm worthy of the very job I've given my life to." She paused, her voice softening as she turned to Jordan. "You do not need to prove anything to anyone, son. The truth does not need permission to exist. It only needs to live." Coleman bowed his head. His voice was rough. I'm sorry, Captain. I was wrong." Naomi turned to Jordan. "What do you think, Jordan?" Jordan blinked, his voice quiet but firm. "I just wanted him to know I wasn't lying." Naomi nodded gently, then turned back to Coleman. "You heard him." Coleman looked up, eyes now filled with genuine remorse. "I'm sorry, Jordan, you were telling the truth, and I was wrong not to believe you." The crowd around them seemed to awaken. Applause broke out, at first scattered, then spreading, until it became the warmest sound in that cold room lit by neon. Ethan smiled, eyes glistening. Jordan stood still, a small smile slowly appearing on his face, not boastful, just simple and light as breath. Naomi spoke one final line, her voice deep, clear, and straight to the heart. "Respect costs nothing, officer, but a lack of it can make a child question their very worth." Coleman nodded, then quietly stepped back into the crowd. People still held their phones high, recording. No one spoke. Only the applause continued, echoing along with the fading hum of rotors drifting away in the sky. That night, the video from PowerMax spread across social media. Just a 3-minute clip, but it shook the entire town of Havenbrook. They called it "The Day Truth Landed." On local television, news anchors introduced it with a headline that read, "A boy, a mother, and a lesson in belief." Newscasts replayed the moment Naomi entered the store. Her footsteps steady, her uniform dusty, her eyes unflinching, and the moment when Coleman bowed his head to apologize. When asked about the incident, Naomi simply said, "I don't need to prove anything to strangers. I just want my son to know that truth does not need permission to exist." That quote was shared millions of times. Online, thousands of comments poured in. "Thank you for showing my child what true strength looks like. No one is born needing permission to be believed. The next afternoon, as the sun slanted across the shopping center's parking lot, mother and son walked past that same place again. Jordan paused, looking up at the PowerMax sign. The sunlight reflected on the glass windows. The same windows where, just yesterday, the whole world had doubted him. "I told you, Mom," Jordan said softly. "They would see." Naomi smiled, ruffling his hair, her eyes glowing in the golden light. "And you made them see, in the most beautiful way. If you have ever been doubted simply because someone could not imagine that you could, share this story. Truth does not need approval. Stand with it.